Hello, hello. It is a glorious day, and I send blessings of discernment that you may know we are living in very exciting times and moving forward in ways that are absolutely amazing. In this video, we're going to talk about Onpassive and consciousness, among other things. And I ask that you keep an open mind and consider the content here objectively, because I'm not real sure where I'm going to end up with it all, but I will at some point, I hope, provide insights to you that are going to ring true and perhaps make a little sense of what we often see as so much mumbo-jumbo. Welcome to Part 1, Paradigms Lost in Global Change. To begin with, keep in mind that Einstein said, quote, "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it," unquote. Now, I tend to believe that, so it seems our consciousness is on the rise with the purpose of solving global humanitarian challenges. Most of us are primarily concerned with our own survival and success, so we operate from what's called a lower consciousness. But when there aren't any threats or demands on us, perhaps late at night or early in the morning, when our mind and body are quiet and comfortable, we're able to access our neocortex and we glimpse life from what's called a higher mind. It's from here that we find empathy, objectivity, imagination, those sorts of things. It's a place of higher thinking from which awareness expands into the vast unknown, so to speak. And it's from here our egos lose grip on our fragile self-justification and pride, so we access a more universal perspective to get, past our own pettiness, our own particular self-interest and craving, so to speak. In this place, if we can call it that, we lose the old paradigm of selfishness and competition, and from here, we can actually view the actions of others without personal bias, as if from a third-person point of view. We objectively see their action as coming out of their situations, usually distress, instead of viewing it through the effect that their distress or behavior has on us. From this place, we understand the appropriate response to humanity is not fear, cynicism, or aggression, but rather it's one of love, one of compassion. From here, we lose a fearful paradigm that would have us separate ourselves from them. But getting to this place, in the vast majority of cases anyway, is a very gradual evolution, an evolution hardly noticeable by most until it's actually pointed out. But humanity, as a whole, has been on that journey, and very recently, we have even begun to get some help along the way. The purpose of this video is to point out where we're headed regarding that and how Onpassive fits into it. Anyway, when we operate from the higher mind, we see the world very differently. We lose the old paradigm that has us view the world as a harsh reality of suffering and selfish effort where everybody's struggling to be heard. That's just another way, by the way, of saying that we're all in competition. Instead, we can also see it's a place of tenderness, desire, beauty, and even touching vulnerability. And when we focus on those qualities, on what is noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, on those things, the ones that are excellent or praiseworthy, that's when we get the bigger picture and we lose the paradigm of always asking, what's in it for me? From here, we can see that universal sympathy and kindness, compassion, is a very appropriate response in all things, and we want to bless for the greatest good. In light of all this, many of us are aware that global consciousness has been changing, that it's on the rise. Part of this just means the global population has a sense that we're living in a global community as a result of understanding more of the universal nature of life, about community and connectedness. Those of us that sense this have lost the separatist paradigm in favor of community. This shift is largely because we realize we're not just connected via the physical and digital constructs of our five senses or the online space, but we're connected through the quantum phenomenon of entanglement. Simply put, it just means that once something has been connected to something else, it's forever connected through the energetic fields no matter how far apart we are. In other words, since we can trace the universe back to a singularity, a point of infinite density and gravity that connected us almost 14 billion years ago, then we're all still connected through that unified field, whether we're 5 feet or 5 light years apart. In a more local sense, we all have a bubble of subtle energy around us extending some 8 meters across when we're in full heart-brain coherence. The less coherence, the smaller the bubble. Anyway, Since consciousness is awareness, higher consciousness is, simply put, a state of raised awareness. It's a higher perception that provides a deeper, greater understanding of the nature of reality. You know, the self and spiritual aspects of life that help define who we are, our personal evolution, and our psychological development. Consequently, as we move along the path, things we hadn't considered possible will sometimes quickly, often intuitively, be shown to us. These are sometimes even akin to outright supernatural downloads. In other words, our journey towards higher consciousness gives us insights through this connection via the unified field, resulting in mental and physical changes. Each time that happens, it further raises our awareness and we lose a little more of the lower paradigms in favor of higher ones. Through this process, this journey, if you will, we are losing the once held paradigms of lower, denser energies that muffle our awareness. In a sense, this is our soulful evolution. Remember the Mayan calendar concern back in December of 2012? Yeah, I bet. Well, it seemed like everybody was freaking out a little bit. They even made movies about it. Some even thought the world was going to end. Even the ancient civilizations said it was a pivotal time of humanity. Well, it turns out that that event marked the end of an Earth cycle, I guess, for lack of a better term. This started a new era within our time frame, and it's got a new energy for a new paradigm. So we are in this new cycle, and it's shining a light in dark areas and exposing things that we've never seen before. And the new energy I'm talking about isn't just figurative. Part of it's because of our solar system revolving around our galaxy, and we've recently been immersed in this new energy. So it's really a new type of radiation. It's new to us anyway, but it's not bad for us. So the new energy isn't just figurative, as I said a little bit ago, it's literal. And the new energy is actually affecting the Earth's magnetic grid as well. As a matter of fact, the magnetic grid has changed more in the last 10 years than it has in the last several hundred because of this new energy. It also affects the Schumann resonance, which is a group of frequencies in the Earth's electromagnetic field. Scientists believe that this helps us expand consciousness and brings healings when we're actually in tune with it. It's also affecting what we call the crystalline grid, which is a holographic matrix of light made up of energy fractals. Yeah, well, that sounded a bit weird. Let me put it this way. It's an energy structure that holds strong and often negative energy. It's like a conduit or a field that actually holds memory. Anyway, people that are sensitive to paranormal activity could feel these energies when they're in a graveyard or a haunted house, things of that nature, because those are really strong. Of course, the new energy is also affecting our consciousness, which we would expect. But I've said all that to say this, that there are very real scientific proofs for our rising consciousness. It's a phenomenon measurable at personal and global levels, affecting a great many things in a great many ways, and we're seeing its effects in what appears to be a breaking down of long-held global systems. Look around. Man, if we don't see this, it's because we're asleep. Being asleep simply means that we're not aware or we don't believe that an evolution of consciousness of who we are and what we are as a species is happening right now. So how do we know if we're asleep? Well, remember Jeff Foxworthy in the Here's Your Sign comedy routine he did a long time ago? Do you feel like you're simply going through the motions, as if life just happens to you and you really don't have a lot of control? Well, here's your sign. You see, if we're believing life is happening to us, many things are seen as threatening at a personal level that are going to prevent us from getting, what we think is rightfully ours. As a result, we stay caught up in our heads. We stay telling our own story with reactionary resistance, defensive reasoning, even ironclad explanations that will justify our own drama as we try to figure it all out. So, if we can recognize this in our own lives, it's a good thing. This is a starting place, right? It's the point where we can drop the victim mentality. When we realize that we're not victims of life, but we have a choice, our slumber starts to stir a little bit. Usually we have this awakening because of a realization that we are where we are because of decisions that we have made. As we stir to wakefulness, we begin to see life happens by us. We lose the victim mentality and believe we've got choices and that we create our own lives. Yep, congratulations. If you're thinking that, you're waking up. And if that's the case, it won't be long before you see the dysfunction in this world. The fake news, the censorship, the COVID-19, divided nations, yada, yada, yada. All is part of the global systems that are in flux as a result of paradigms lost to the coming age. We made it through 2020, a pinnacle year held with divine partnership, and it will be remembered as the year that everything changed. Granted, a lot of it was about the virus, or more specifically, it was about things brought about or brought to light as a result of the things because of the virus. And a lot of us are already seeing this. So it's happening. Because you know what? When we stop the world, right? When we stop the economics like we've done, everything changes and things will start getting exposed that were never exposed previously. And as we move into 2021, the quote unquote light for a great many are going to be flipped on, so to speak. And I personally believe that that means that about 30% of the global population is going to wake up soon. And I want them in Onpassive with me. And as we start seeing the new normal, going into the latter part of this year and into the next as the start of a change from the old, then, man alive. Right now, the paradigms around us are collapsing. Political with divisionism, philosophical with the new sciences, economic with shifting capitalism, governmental with regulatory and deep state stuff, religious with abandonment of extremes, medical with big pharma, educational with dumbing down, environmental with pollution and climate change. You name it, it's probably in trouble. Why? Because they can't function in the new era because of the new energy of consciousness, because it's too high to support them any longer. Something new has to be created. So hang on, because it's going to get a little bumpy. But it's also a time for engineering solutions. So it's an exciting time. This is the end of part 1, which was intended to lay the groundwork of some of the things that we're going to be going into a little deeper in the next video, called Paradigms Found in Onpassive. Hello again, and welcome to part 2, called Paradigms Found in Onpassive. And so it has begun. Global consciousness is on the rise, and the catalyst for this change is compassion. But I gotta warn you, you gotta find a place of peace first. Now, those of us that resonate with Mr. Mufara and his vision, before Onpassive even had a name and without understanding what the business was, we did so because we felt the heart of his message, his compassion. Okay, there may be some that looked at it like buying a lottery ticket or something, or maybe got a little greedy, but most of us felt the rightness of what his vision seeks to accomplish, namely unity and abundance. For now, though, we're already seeing changes and we're recognizing chaos. The reason social media and internet platforms are racing forward at such a quick pace is to prepare the planet to be informed in the new paradigm. We're going to see scientists coming together and sharing some astounding work. It's already happening. They're already working in groups and engaging the public so that the new technology, philosophies, and inventions, ones that are going to rock your senses, are going to be in use before governments even know they exist. Yep, we're already seeing it. In a world of energetic, fast, and comprehensive communication, digital platforms like social media and such, where very little can stay a secret, secrets actually start getting revealed. Secrets that show us things that have been happening since so-and-so, or others that have been happening all along and that we haven't known about. It's already starting to happen, but a great many haven't seen any of it. We've been asleep, in a slumber, complacent. But when everything stops and the camouflage falls away, the changes are going to force us to wake up. When these things happen, what we wake up to is going to shock some of us to the core, and for some, is going to cause a massive psychological earthquake that totally transforms long-held paradigms and identities. Lots of energetic tremors are going to have us finding these new paradigms, large and small, at every turn. Now, during this time, we're going to be seeing some things that are going to be pretty horrific, and we're not going to want to look at them. But when that happens, just remember this. We'll have to reframe how we feel about these things. These things are showing themselves because we got a new light now. It's a new higher energy. And believe it or not, this is all a battle between light and dark. Everything dark will lose, and an entirely new mother of all paradigms is going to emerge. But like I said, we're going to need to reframe how we view these shifts and the information they expose. We're going to have to be objective. We're going to have to be without bias in order to save our heart from a whole lot of hurt. Okay, back to the topic. So what is this consciousness shift anyway? Well, the real shift is one that goes from a low-level animal instinct of survival and fear to one of peace, understanding, compassion, and even benevolence and love. In short, we're coming alive with the idea that the love of God, our Creator, the one that loves you and knows your name, is within us and can manifest and change things. But, as alluded to earlier, there are going to be some things brought to light that are going to be very hard to look at. One of those will start with the beginning of the revelation of the virus. Concerning the pandemic, whether you agree or not, we, meaning the powers that be, had control over whether it would appear or not, and some even tried to stop it. We'll see this down the road, and we'll know the real story about how it came to be brought out. Meanwhile, there are going to be a lot of us that continue to wear masks for the rest of our lives simply because we've been imprinted with fear, and that's the emotional set point that's new for us. And guess what? We've talked about that before, and you know what else? That is the real pandemic, fear, and it was by design. And as all this plays out, all of us, especially Onpassive founders, need to be aware that those around us are going to be living in fear and not knowing where to turn when this happens. They're not going to understand what's going on. Those that are stressed out because their world's been rocked and their identities compromised because of the crashing systems, and they're not knowing what's happening to them. And they're going to be questioning long-held beliefs, trust me. And that's when we step in. We're going to be applying wisdom and compassion like a warm, soothing blanket to warm and comfort them. And in doing this, let them know, hey, we are not afraid. But you can be assured this is a passing thing and it will end. But we need to be the light on the hill. Compassion is going to undergo an evolution and a revolution that will be at first strange, but it will be second nature eventually. It'll be natural for us. And despite the current outlook and existing fears, we're going to see humanity become a kinder, more compassionate people, helping each other, looking at each other in the eye from up close, shaking hands, patting a back or a shoulder, no longer worried about social distancing, saying, hey, I love you, neighbor. If you need help, let us know, because we're going to make it through this despite what the circumstances appear to be. And that, my friends, is the beginning of the new age. The biggest things we'll witness are those concerning the revealing of truths that we didn't even know existed. Things that are going to topple and reshape governments. Full-blown dysfunctions that will become very apparent. And there's going to be things that'll come out that are not good by any stretch of the imagination. But the solutions brought about as a result of them will be very good and will change the world forever. And these things will happen like this so that we can finally see things are different. Now, we as a people are different. And we're entering a new paradigm. A time we consider togetherness as opposed to separateness and competition as the way to create far better systems. When we stop the idea of the winner takes all in a competitive sense, it changes everything. So take heart. It's also a time of solution. The new energy that we're now getting into, for the most part, started after 2012 to let us finally see things for what they really are with clarity. Humanity's consciousness is on the move, and we're starting to feel our own connectedness. We've talked about that before, too. The old sciences and the powers that be, they told us that we were separate and conflicted in competition. No, that was a lie. We were programmed to think we're alone, and we're not. We're 4D beings, and reality is in a whole lot of different dimensions. It's scientifically provable via multidimensionality and quantum, and yet most of us will claim such things don't even exist. When we look in the mirror, we see only one person because we can't see past or from the 4D. Okay, so we live in our little box, not believing our very thoughts generate a field that can change our lives, or that we could have the innate within us that generates a quantum bubble all the way around us. But let me get back on track. I was saying the events that we're about to witness in this new era, whether you believe it or not, is to allow us to see things for what they are. That this is a time of change and, more importantly, of solution. And because of these changes, we're raising the bar on what we do want and getting rid of what we don't want. You know, some folks have asked me what product in the Onpassive arsenal I like best. Well, I said Academy, and I loved it when Mr. Mufar said that that was going to be the first one out of the gate. This is because education is the slowest system we have. Government, believe it or not, is second. You see, science and technology has started catching up to the truths that were previously unbelievable, and we're already seeing products long thought impossible. But they're only going to get out there where they belong, into the hands of the public, that is, if there are forward thinkers that can create platforms capable of getting them into the hands of regular people. Does this make you think of anybody? Can you see the genius of what Mr. Mufara has created? His timing is perfect. Wake up, founders. Wake up, people. Our job is to present a platform to get the new stuff to the people on the planet. We can bypass the regulatory red tape, bypass the reporting, because when we start collaborating worldwide, using inventions, spreading technology, etc., on platforms available to the masses, etc., it will get attention and it will get traction, and the power brokers won't be able to control any of it. It's already started. Things like privately funded, unlimited magnetic power that's inexpensive and safe, saltwater desalination that can end the world's water crisis in 5 years or less. That's just the start. It exists now. It's happening. And by going straight to the internet, straight to the public, and getting direct participation and discovery there, university circles are going to be sorely embarrassed and governments will be powerless to interfere. Going to academia or government first would have meant decades of struggle to get the information out, if it got out at all. We're in the beginning of a new paradigm of capitalism. We are the first to begin active global unity, and Onpassive is not here by accident. Changing gears for a second, Dr. Joe Dispenza, a world-renowned surgeon, author, and teacher, says that we become supernatural by doing what is not natural. By this, I mean that when we're in lack, we give. When we're in fear, we show courage. When immersed in judgment and in conflict, we show love and compassion. By stepping out of the limitations imposed on ourselves by ourselves through thinking only of ourselves, we get a taste of the divine. When we do this, when we quiet our minds to focus on the space in or around us, which, by the way, is what happens when we get coherent, that's how we generate feelings of love, compassion, on well-being for the greatest good, then we no longer focus on objects, on things. In doing this, we leave the realm of the five senses, so our heart and brain get synchronized, organized. They get very coherent. Just meaning there's good and healthy communication between the heart and the brain. Now, because the wave is energy at frequency, and all frequency carries information with coherence, the information between the heart and the brain is unified. It's a healing energy that does a ton of things that I can't get into here. But when we're in this state, we love a lot more. Our hearts are wide open, and the wave, right, the field of energy around us, extends powerfully in a 25-foot bubble beyond our physical bodies. It's a real thing. It's measurable. And if we study it out a little more, we'll realize there's actually a trinity: the heart, the brain, and the pineal gland that enter into that coherence. That's when our energies rise, our conscious awareness expands, and when we get a real taste of the divine. That's what we want, and that's where we want to be, and where we can do the most for the highest good of humanity. And incidentally, we need to have an intention to do that highest good. So, enter Onpassive, whose intention is for the greatest good, whose mission is to lift humanity. Enter Onpassive, rising from chaos to replace disarray with design, to replace corruption with honesty, morality, and purity. And as Mr. Mufara has said, we are the correction for the corruption. Yeah, I like that. Enter Onpassive and its global group of superhero founders as a force for good to promote abundance for well-being more tangibly than any other time and any other company in history. Founders, millions strong, that will blanket the earth, each one a consciously economic touch point with a benevolent intention for the greatest good, each one unique and magnificent in the fulfilling of their individual role. With a few dozen freestanding departments under one roof, Onpassive is head and shoulders above any other information technology and artificial intelligence company in the world when it comes to providing solutions for any online presence of business. Marketers, entrepreneurs, and anyone wanting success, you need to become a founder now. Onpassive will provide everything you need and guarantees your success, whether you have a business or not. If you join as a founder and do the bare minimum, the system is going to generate success for you on autopilot within about 3 to 5 years. It could happen a whole lot sooner than that, depending on how you define success, simply because our compensation plan is very radical, very generous, and it's proprietary. For the light workers out there, and for those of you with generous hearts that want to be a part of changing the world for the greatest good consciously and at a grassroots level, become a founder. Yes, if this describes you, we want you as a founder. Yeah, shoot. Are you kidding? Actually, I want you on my team. Anyway, have you heard of the Heart Math Institute and the Global Coherence Initiative? Google it. There's a lot of good information you'll find out. Well, Onpassive's creating its own global consciousness bubble. It's got more than 500,000 founders to date, and a very large number of them have the intention of raising the human condition for the greater good. And Onpassive's intention is to provide more than enough to its members so they can bless anyone they choose to bless in whatever manner they choose to do it. So we're going to need light workers and prayer warriors to help focus and balance. Join to become a founder now, and not only will you manifest increase in your physical abundance, but you can also be a part of the work that you were born to do. Right now, even in the final stages of pre-launch, Onpassive is a massive and very real company with several dozen very real products wrapped and seamlessly integrated into a few dozen departments. Each department can stand alone as a unicorn company, and all departments and products are under one roof. We are, quite literally, an abbreviated internet, and every person on the planet that uses the internet will have a reason to join with us. We're currently in 212 countries and completely legal everywhere on the globe. Even now, in pre-launch, we're bigger than the current tech giants. Yeah, I'm talking about Google, Facebook, etc. And I can say with confidence, we will dwarf them, and eventually Onpassive is going to own the internet. In very plain language, I'm just saying that Onpassive is a disruptive company whose digital ecosystem sums up everything about your digital world in one place. It's all here, which means you won't have to search for anything either. And as if that ain't good enough, it's very simple. It's got a straightforward way for you to break even and a clean path to an unlimited commissionable structure so you can actually earn. So you really need to check us out. So whoever you are and whatever you want, get behind our vision for lifting humanity and get on board now. Before long, we're going to enter beta testing in preparation to roll out the products. Right now, the cost of a founder is just $97, but the price is going to go up once we go into beta. If someone already invited you, then please get back with them and join that team. If not, please join with me by clicking on the registration link in the description box below. I also recommend that you'd visit onpassive.com sites and my YouTube channel. The links are also posted in the description box. And I know that this was not a usual message, and I appreciate very much that you took the time to listen to it. So thank you. Thank you a whole lot. But whatever you decide to do, may you and your family be blessed fully as this year and the next year unfolds for all of us.